Hello, and welcome to the Book Buzz Show. I am your host, Cheryl Brooks. And if you're new here, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. If you enjoy the upcoming show, please like, follow, subscribe, and share the broadcast so others can also enjoy it. For those who are new here at the Book Buzz Show, we do discuss the book and the characters. So there may be some minor spoilers, but we don't give anything as far as major spoilers, anything that would ruin the book for you. In addition to being a live broadcast, the Book Buzz Show is also a podcast now. So you can check us out at the Book Buzz Show with Cheryl, wherever you get your podcasts, and then make sure to follow us so that you can stay, so you can listen when you're out and about. Also, if you are looking to promote your brand, business, product, or service, we have ad spots and sponsorship opportunities available. Please visit our website at iaspirebooks2, and that's the number 2.com for more information. And the book that we are discussing today is called The Light on Halsey Street by Vanessa Miller. And here's the cover on your screen. Love the cover too, by the way. And Vanessa Miller is my guest for today. Vanessa Miller is a best-selling author, entrepreneur, playwright, and motivational speaker. She started writing as a child, spending countless hours either reading and writing poetry, short stories, stage plays, and novels. Vanessa's creative endeavors took on new meaning in 1994 when she became a Christian. Vanessa's novels have received rave reviews, with several appearing on Essence Magazine's bestsellers list. Miller's work has received numerous awards. And in 2016, Vanessa launched the Christian Book Lovers Retreat in an effort to bring readers and authors of Christian fiction together in an environment that's all about faith, fun, and fellowship. Vanessa lives in North Carolina with her husband and family. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on tonight's guest, Vanessa Miller, and also my co-host for this evening, Tony Bonita. Welcome, ladies. Welcome.
Hello.
Well.
Yeah, let me see. Looks like we have a couple of people in the audience. That are saying hello. Hello, Ola. We have a couple people who are showing as Facebook user. What you can do is go to the description, and it'll be a link that you can give StreamYard permission to see your face and name, so it won't show Facebook user. All right, and let's get right into it. Vanessa, for those who are new to you, can you tell us a little bit about your writing journey and what genre you write in?
Okay. Well, I have been writing since, well, my first book came out in 2003, but I've been writing since I was a kid. Now, my writing journey started with a book called Former Rain. And that book came out in 2003, as I said. And I self-published my first 3 books. And then I was picked up by a publisher, and they actually republished the Rain series. And usually publishers don't like to do that. They want you to come with a newer book, and which I did. We published 2 other ones in that series, Rain, Storm, and then Through the Storm. And so I have now published 54 books.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, since 2003. So it's been quite a journey. And, along the way, my grandkids have come along, my husband has come along. And so, things are quite different from when I first started writing. And I have, a lot of other responsibilities, but I'm still trying to get this writing done.
So you said you started out traditionally published?
I started out indie published.
Indie, okay.
And then I went to traditional, yes.
And so when you first started writing, how long did it take you from the time that you wrote the first book to when you first tried to get it published?
It was a 7-year process on Former Rain. And it wasn't 7 years of writing. It was a lot of years of procrastinating. I wrote Former Rain. I sent it out to an editor, and I thought, oh, I'm just paying her for nothing. I found a professional editor, and I'm thinking, oh, she's just going to send it back and tell me it's all perfect. It's good. Like most, new authors think, because, we think, oh, well, I wrote this and it makes so much sense and it's wonderful. She ripped that book up one side and down the next. And so I put it away. I put it in my closet, and I was working full time, and I was back in college full time at during that time. So it took me 3 years to finish college. So after I got my degree, I was in the yard and I was mowing my grass, and I was thinking about grad school because I loved school. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm going to sign up for grad school. And then I heard the Lord say to me so clearly, what about that book? And so I was like, the book. And so I went back, grabbed it out of my closet, and then I actually sat there and I read everything this editor said to me. And I was like, okay, so I began to just ingest it. And I say, working with her, because writers, we have this gift of writing. We know we can sit down and write the story, but there's a skill you have to learn in writing as well. And she taught me the skill of writing. And so finally I send it back to her. This is probably 5-6 years later. I send it back to her, and she said, you went from wanting to write to being a writer. And there's a world of difference between the two. Okay. And her comment was so profound to me that it's been 20 years now, and I still haven't forgotten what she said to me. And I think it's just important as authors that we learn the skill of writing. And so that's how it happened for me. So 7 years on the first book. So now it takes me about 5 months to write a book. But 5 months, and then my editor gets it. She rips it all up, and then she sends it back to me. And so then I go over it about, depending on how complex it is, it'll take me either I'm given a month or 2 months to go back over it and fix it and look at, you know, what the issues are. So I would say it takes me anywhere between 6 months to 7 months now to finish a project.
Not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Shavana
Yeah,
said,
7 years.
Yeah. Shavana is saying yes, one of her favorite series. I guess she's talking about the Rain series.
The Rain series.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And Ola is saying, wow, as far as 54 books. That is a great accomplishment. Yeah, most definitely. Again, Facebook user, if you go to the description, you can click on the link and give StreamYard permission to show your face if you want us to know who you are. All right. And what made you decide to write in Christian fiction, genre?
Well, because that's who I am. You know, I became a Christian in 1994, and actually I've wanted to write since I was a kid. And in 1994, I didn't know Christian fiction existed. So actually I said, well, I'm not going to write anymore. I was prepared to just give up writing because I wanted to do what God had for me to do. Right. That's just how serious it is for me. And so it was a couple of years after I gave my life to the Lord. A friend of mine at work sat a book on my desk, and it was called This Present Darkness. And it was Christian fiction. And I had no idea that there was even such a thing. And when I read it, I felt the ministry in that book. And I said, I want to do this. And I knew immediately that this was a God moment for me, and that God was doing, because I had been praying about what was next for me. I didn't know what I was going to do, because all I had ever wanted to do was write. Right. Since the time I was little. And since I said, okay, well, I guess I can't do that now. So what's next? And it was God showing me grace and showing me, you know, yes, this is what I actually do have for you. You are supposed to write. And so when I decided I would write, I wanted to write books that touch the heart and soul of God's people. So Christian fiction was just a no-brainer for me. It has been my journey. It is what I do. It is what I love to do. And so
I love that. I love it. And for those who haven't read the book yet, can you tell us a little bit about what the book, The Light on Halsey Street, is about?
Oh, yes. The Light on Halsey Street.
I love that cover too. I
know. I love this cover. And so this book came about from my husband. Basically, he grew up in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn in the 80s.
Okay.
And that's why the book begins in the 80s. And so he was always telling me stories about, you know, this area, you know, and Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn is just, to me, such an iconic area. I never would have tried to write a book in Bed-Stuy if I didn't, you know, have him who actually grew up there, because he kept telling me these stories. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I'm going to write about this area. And so I wanted to make Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, a character within the novel. So you have Lisa and Dana, but you also have Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
Right.
And what I wanted to do was, I'm not telling my husband's story in this book. I'm a fiction writer. Right. So I'm telling the story of two girls growing up in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and how they were best friends. They were like sisters. And then a betrayal happens. And then I show you as they grow older and through the book, because the book spans almost 4 decades.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to show like what one instance of betrayal, how it, can trail through your life. And it really deals with forgiveness and redemption.
And I got that too. And well, first, who are the main characters in the book, and what is their story? How would you describe them?
Yeah. Lisa Whitaker Coleman is one of the main characters, and Dana Jones is one of the main characters as well. And Dana's last name changes when she gets married. And right now, I'm not thinking of, is it Williams? No, I'm not thinking of her. I can't think of her new last name. But anyway, Lisa and Dana. So Lisa, she grows up in a 2-parent household. Her family are churchgoers. Her father's a deacon. Her mother, volunteers at homeless shelters. So Lisa grows up wanting to do something good for her community. Because this is what she has seen, and this is the environment that her parents have put her in. Right. So Dana, her mother, if I was going to write a book about the 80s, I felt like I could not be authentic to the 80s if I did not mention the crack epidemic that took over the 80s. And so Dana's mother is addicted to drugs, and Dana lives a very insecure existence because they're being evicted from one place to the next. And so Dana doesn't know, what she's going to do with her life. She gets, hooked up with, the wrong guy who, is, a street kid who just wants to commit crime. Right. And it ends up getting her in trouble. And so then when you meet them when they're grown, because the book begins when they're 18, but when you meet them once they're grown, then the book shows what those decisions at the age of 18 brought about as they are growing into adulthood and growing older.
And I grew up in the 80s. I was a teenager in the 80s.
Me too.
I'm always excited to read about that era. And I can tell you from reading it, it put me back in that mindset, and the nostalgia of it and everything. It just enhanced the reading experience for me. But like you said, the crack epidemic was big at that time, and yes, a lot of people succumbed to it. Why you kind of answered this already when you said why you wrote the particular story, because your husband used to tell you stories about it. But was there anything else that made you want to tell this particular story about these two particular fictional characters?
Well, yeah. The story I'm telling is about becoming better rather than bitter. And so that story to me was important because I know as we grow older, people have done so much to us that, when we're younger, it rolls off our back, right, because it hasn't been one thing after the next yet. But as you get older, sometimes it is one thing after the next. And I know that, we can tend to then begin to hold on to things or think, well, now we're okay if we don't forgive because we have forgiven this and we've forgiven that and we've forgiven that. But this thing, it's okay because I'm tired of people and, people are constantly doing things. And so I wanted to address that particular issue, because, as I'm getting older, I recognize that, even in my life, I've always been, just very forgiving. But, I feel like, until you get a person to that one thing, that one thing that, oh, wait a minute, I can't forgive this.
Right.
And, and that's where I was, several years ago. There was just one thing got me. And I was like, oh, hold on.
Right.
I'm just no. I'm just, and it actually changed me. That one incident changed me from. I had always been just a very trusting person,
Mm-hmm.
and it made me think, oh, hold on, you can't really. And so I wanted to kind of address that, for us, as we get older, that yeah, we can still trust, we can still, love people, we can forgive, you
Right.
know even if it's something that takes you a minute to forgive. And so that was important to me in this book.
Antoinette said it sounds sounds awesome. That book.
Grab
Um,
it. Copy.
yes, and Antoinette, I definitely recommend that you get it and read it. Now, one thing, and I always say this: I love stories built around friendships, and I love the friendship between Dana and Lisa, and I love the coming of age story,
Yes.
basically. Um, and how although they came from two different types of households,
Yes.
they still were really good friends. And um, Lisa was somebody there basically that Dana needed. She needed the type of friend that Lisa was at the time.
Yes.
And so I definitely it just so many parts of this book just touched me. It was so heartfelt. What you think, Mama Tony, as far as the friendship and
The friendship was amazing. The thing that got to me was that was a thorn in both of their sides.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was that third friend who
Yeah.
needle. She pushed one way and one the other.
right,
She
right.
kept the two of them clashing with each other. Even as it progressed on when they became full adults, she was the needle that
Yeah.
said, if you don't, this will happen because I know your secret. She
Right.
was
Mm-hmm.
always right there to just
Yeah.
do this. The entire book from high school all the way through, even though she let her life go down, she stayed lucid enough to be able to interject in their lives and cause problems.
Yeah.
True. And what I like too, well, what it reminded me of too is that first love, like with Dana and the boyfriend. I can't remember.
Derek,
There,
the bad boy.
the baby
Right,
boy.
right, the bad boy, and the first love where you give your all, and basically too because of the household that Dana came from, she was looking for that attention, that
Yeah.
love from an outside place, and even though in the back of her head was saying, okay, maybe this is not the
And
person for me.
he
Right.
gave her that attention, but he
Yeah,
gave it to her in all the wrong ways. And she
Correct.
wouldn't listen to Lisa, and she didn't trust the other friend enough to even to pay attention to anything she said.
right.
But she was on a slope. That's what I said. She was on a
Yeah.
slope. She wanted to do the right thing, but she got the mother over here pulling toward wrong, and she got the friend over here pulling toward right. She got
Mm-hmm.
the boyfriend in the middle who's saying, "I can make all this right, so you can forget. You can get the man. You can get them both. You can get the friend. You
Yeah.
can get the mama, because I'm gonna do this." And she was kind of between a rock and a hard place. And I don't think reality set in for her until they were at that pizza shop.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That
Mm-hmm.
definitely was an eye opener.
Right. And I don't want to give away anything. I want to tell y'all
Right.
anything else. But like I said, the eye opener for her, or the reality, was at that pizza shop when she realized I should have listened.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And
They
how
made
how
a
many
dollar
times does
store.
that happen to these young girls,
Right.
where they just made a mistake that's getting ready to cost them?
Yes.
And and it's like, you're not even the real problem, but you're in the wrong place and
Right.
you're with the wrong people, and now it's about to be a problem for you.
And then she refused to exonerate her own self, because she could have gotten herself out of that.
Right.
True.
Sometimes we hold on to things that we need to let go of.
Yes.
And she
And we
felt,
don't recognize the ones that are truly friends, because the one that was the true friend, Lisa, I think they mentioned prior about when they were younger and somebody was bullying Lisa or something, but Dana wanted to be in that cool crowd.
Yeah.
And that peer pressure is real.
It's real.
Right.
Yeah.
It's real.
And sometimes for adults too, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So just imagine a teenager in that situation. But I wanted to ask you too, what type of research did you do? Even though you grew up in the 80s, I know you have to make sure that you put something in there that wasn't around in the 80s and all that type of thing.
Correct. So because I grew up in the 80s, but I grew up in Ohio in the 80s. Right. I didn't grow up in Bed-Stuy. So I had to research all of the different places that we mentioned in the book. And so that was kind of the fun part. And so we were sitting around and I'm like, okay, so I need a shoe store. What was what was there? What was cool? And so we talked about it. And so then also my husband, I remember he had to print out the street map of Bed-Stuy and of downtown Brooklyn, because I'm visual. And so I had to be able to see how they would get from one point to the next. And okay, if I'm saying they're turning left, where are they going? Right. And so he was having this, I know he was like, oh my God. But I have to, have it like that. I have to be able to see it. And so and I have, let's see here. And this right here. This shows again how visual I am. So these are some pictures these are some, you're not going to be able to see them all, but I also have the picture here of the mural wall that is talked about.
Oh,
this right here is the mural that was up. It's no longer there. And my husband and I, when we just went to Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, 2 weeks ago, we stood at this wall. So now they have some graffiti there, but they had cleared the whole wall and somebody came over and put some graffiti.
I thought that was beautiful though, how the memorial wall, and
a true thing. That
to know it was true is really,
yes. And so so he printed out these pictures for me. And so even of there's one here of people sitting at a table, and there that is a block party going on.
Okay.
And so I write about the block party, and then if you remember, I write about them using the fire hydrant when it was so hot and spraying the water. So there's my picture there. That's what I mean by I'm visual. I have these pictures. I'm writing this book, but I'm looking, and so I'm looking at the brownstones. Here's the brownstones, and I'm looking at, here's the street. I've got a picture of, here's the street that we go down. And so I have to see it when I'm writing the book. It just makes it better for me. And so there were just different things in the 80s that I wanted to write about. And so, I had to, the 80s part of it was only a third of the book, but it took me the longest to write because that was the most of the research I had to do was for the 80s.
I can imagine. And even though I grew up in Michigan in the 80s, like you said, the Bed-Stuy became a character in itself. And when you were describing them on the subway and all of that, I could picture it. And with the fire hydrants and all of that, I remember that from me growing up.
Right.
And everybody blocking off the street. So it all brought me back to that time period, and I loved it. Yes. And you did a great job.
When we were just young and free.
Yes.
Young and free. And so that was like the fun part of writing this story, because I grew up at this time period, and so I remember just being, just young and free.
Right.
And so just to write their story and the things that they were doing, it was a chore because of the research, but it was fun because I was like, this is my era. This is where I came of age. And I've never written a book before. in my era of age. And so that was just the most to me. I loved writing this. And then I saw Shavonna had said she was wondering if the mural was still there.
Right.
But no, they painted over the mural around the early 2000s. And like I say, now there is graffiti on the
wall. She's also saying, Shavonna is saying, we had block parties every week in Panama City. Yeah, we had not every week, but we did have block parties. I remember growing up.
And I don't hear much about block parties.
Not anymore.
I don't think they do them anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't hear much about it, but in the 80s, there were block parties.
That was the thing, and it was. It was more carefree, but there was and you point out in the book, there was another side to that. Everybody wasn't. Her life, Dana's life, is a life that a lot of people were living at that time, unfortunately. And I felt for her because it's like she couldn't catch a break, basically.
Right.
And even with Lisa, although she had a 2-parent household and they were more functional, her father, in a way, I can see why he was so hard on her. He just wanted her to, stay on the right path.
Stay on the right path.
Right.
And so they had I wanted to show that they had conflict when she was younger, but that she appreciated it once she was older, and she understood and loved her father, for his, heavy hand in her life, because sometimes these kids need a heavy hand.
Especially nowadays, you're right.
Even as a teenager, she appreciated. She just didn't want to do it because those were those teenage years where I got to work in the store.
Right.
I got to do this.
Right. Yeah, right.
We know that they're the right things to do and that our parents are right, but at 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, we don't want to do what's right. We want to do what we want to do. And that's what she was. And she understood that, because think about it. Every time her father said, don't do something, don't do this, she would always give at least a point of example. We shouldn't go here. You know what happened the last time we was here? We shouldn't do this. So in the back of her mind, Dad is saying, she had Daddy on one side, keeping her straight. And then she had, but I'm a big girl. I'm 18. I'm 19. I want to do what I want to do on the other side. And that's the way she bounced back and forth through the whole story. Even when there was a turnaround and she found out what had happened to her, why it had happened, and who was responsible for it. You got the father saying, forgive and forget. But she's over here now, even at 30-something years old, saying, forgive and forget. I want this be to pay for everything that's done to me. So everything. So
she brought back how he used to be. She said, you weren't so forgiving. Right. She brought it back, but he said he learned.
But he learned, right.
Yeah, she was a chip off the old block, actually. And that's what I was trying to show. She was her father's child.
Right. Yes, she was.
And so when she got older, that was her personality.
Yes. And I love too the men that you brought into both of their lives, because they truly were true partners to them, and they wanted what was best for them.
I love Jeff and John. I really did. I had one reader ask me, she said, why'd you make the men so good? I was like, we need some good men in this world.
Yes. And they weren't perfect, especially.
No, they weren't perfect.
That's what I told her. But she said she seemed to think I was making them too perfect. And I was like, no, they were good men.
But they had good qualities. And the bottom line was they loved their wives.
Right.
Yes.
So with the love, you can get upset, but you can get past it and come back and still be there for them. And both of those men did that.
Yes.
Even when what happened to Lisa, Dana happened and her credit card messed up, he was upset, but never to the point where he blew up at her. He said, he didn't say you got to fix this.
Right.
He said, we.
Yes.
He said, we're gonna go. We're gonna find out. We're gonna do this. When it was time to talk to her father about what they couldn't do, he said, we'll talk to your father. Not you go talk to your daddy. You tell your daddy what you did wrong. He didn't say that. He said they stayed together. And the same thing. But then when she got in trouble, when he found out what she had done and all this kind of stuff, he said, I'm sorry that you didn't realize how much I care. So you didn't tell me all these things in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But forget the dumb stuff. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So now I know the whole story from 18 to 40 to you're now 40 years old.
Right. Now he got mad though.
He got mad. He
was like, now what?
He had a reason to, because
he was like, what is going on in here?
Yeah, that should have been a talk before they got married.
Before they got married,
yeah, that's what Shavonda
got mad. But even if get mad, he didn't turn his back on her. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That was that love.
Now, Shavonda, I had someone else, another interview I was doing that they told me they kept expecting Jeff to do something. They thought he was after her money, but Jeff was just a good guy. I wanted to write him that way because I really felt like as much as Dana had gone through in life, she needed a good man, and Jeff was that man. You know, she had already had Derek.
She already had somebody that was
another one
that was using that
was just gonna do her wrong. And so Jeff, I was like, you know, Jeff to me, he was just a good guy. You know,
but Jeff had his own money in his own right.
Right. And
Jeff he was the one who helped her.
He had his own money.
With her dream.
Yeah.
So he did have the business sense, but what really made me side him at first was the way he reacted to Jasmine, and that would make Dana start thinking, okay, if he's looking at her like she trash, what is he gonna think about when he found out about my mother and all of this?
Correct.
So that did make me kind of pause, pause on him too at first.
And that's the part about, you know, like Mama Tony said, they weren't perfect,
right?
You know, because he did feel that way about Jasmine, because, you know, that wasn't, you know, he didn't grow up like that, and he's a businessman, and he wasn't really feeling that, and so he was like, wait a minute, we can't just be giving money to these people. No, he wasn't a millionaire. No, he was a businessman who handled his business, but you know, Dana became the millionaire.
Right.
but Dana would have lost everything if Jeff had stepped in and helped her.
And that's what I love, that he.
So it was their money,
right? When she couldn't be there and do what she needed to do, he stepped up and did it for her, and he turned it back over when she was, gave
it back to her.
Right. I love that part.
That was the love. You in trouble? While you in trouble, I'm gonna see to it that your business keeps moving. Right. Now that this is all straightened out and you back, and you know, here it is back to you. Go ahead and do what you need to do with it, or do what you want to do with it. That was who he was. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I love the journey you took Lisa on as well, where towards when she was later in life, she was so bitter, had turned so bitter that she didn't even appreciate her husband anymore, or the things that she believed in the beginning. She didn't care about it anymore. So I love that you took her on this journey as well, where she had to come to understand, you know, find God again, find her family, her husband again, her friend again.
Because I believe that sometimes we can get weary in well-doing. And that's why the Bible tells us not to be weary in well-doing, because God knows that we can get weary. And Lisa was my character who, you know, wanted to do good for people. You know, she was the planner. She had her whole life planned out. You know, and what happens when it doesn't work out the way you planned? Right. And so, you know, Lisa was my character. I wanted to show the bitterness through, but I wanted her to come out of it.
Right.
But I also wanted to show the effects of holding on to bitterness. And, you know, we can't, you know, go into all of that and tell all the story, but, you know, and so I love Lisa. But believe me, by the end, I wanted to change how the book was gonna end.
Yeah,
I did. I was like,
I was gonna reach out like, okay, what's going on?
I knew the whole way through how it was gonna end, but when I got to it, I just didn't want to do it, and I was like, no.
But you know, it was a good lesson because
yeah,
I actually could relate to Lisa because when things, like you said, when things don't work out the way you plan them, then you start missing a lot of the blessings around you.
Yes,
you thinking
that was her. She couldn't see.
Right.
She couldn't see how things were still working out for her. It may not have come in the ways that you expected, but you know, if you just wait on it, and I just kind of believe that, you know, I don't get everything that I go after.
Right.
You know, sometimes, you know, I'll get, even like with this last tour, I would contact certain stores, and some of them would say, well, hey, congratulations on the book releases, but no, we're not gonna, you know. But then I said, okay, well, let me keep contacting. And hey, this store would say yes, this one would say yes, and we have to learn to be grateful for those yeses and let the no's roll right off our back, because understanding that, you know, God has something for us in our own time and place.
Right.
You know, there are certain there's just steps and stages in this business, and there really are, you know, and people don't respect it until you're at, you know, a certain level, but they don't understand, well, you can't get to that certain level without all the help that you need along the way. And so you just have to keep working it, and you have to keep believing that, okay, I'm gonna keep working it, and I'm gonna get to where I need to be. So
the song lyrics say he may not come when you want him, but he's always on time.
Yep.
Amen.
And that's why
this is what it was for her. She wanted retribution immediately.
Yes.
God wanted for her to have it immediately, but it was coming, and it came.
And it didn't even have to be retribution. I think too, it was a lesson in putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, because she hadn't realized. She realized later that she thought Dana had this wonderful life, not knowing that Dana was struggling too, even though she had made a success of her business. And just putting yourself in that situation where you're that desperate that you do something that you know that is not right, but you desperate enough to do it where you don't even know if you're gonna have a place to stay. So I thought that was a lesson too. And like I said, the one I took the most out of is to recognize the blessings around you. That's why Footprints is one of my favorite. And I have it all over my house, because you think God has forsaken you, but then He's right there with you, carrying you through those
carrying you through it.
Yes.
That's yes, absolutely. I love that. Footprints.
Yes. Shabana is saying grateful for the no's also, because there is a reason for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Ola is saying that this is going to be her next read. From
Thank you,
Ola. Yeah, believe me, you will enjoy it.
You will enjoy it, and get your Kleenex, Ola.
Yes. Yes.
Fair warning. Get your Kleenex.
Y'all know I'm that type of writer. I like to make you laugh, but I also, you know, I'm gonna make you cry too.
Yes, most definitely.
There are certain points in there that you're gonna need the Kleenex. 3 or 4 very pivotal points where
most definitely. And
you need the Kleenex.
I just listen.
I don't want to give anything away, but I'm telling you, get the Kleenex as soon as you start reading, because when you hit that point, you don't need them. You're gonna have time to put the book down and go get the Kleenex, and just keep them till the very end.
And have it right there next to you.
Keep the Kleenex till the very end.
And I just listened to it on Audible, and I just wanted to commend the narrator for The Light on Halsey Street, Jeannie Fleming.
Yeah, I listened to it too, and I don't listen to a lot of Audible, but I did on this one.
She was so good.
Yes,
I loved her work. I loved her narration on this book. And so I just absolutely, if my next one wasn't a historical, I would be asking them, hey, get her for the next one. But the next one is a historical. And so
you need a different feel, a different voice.
Yes. But oh my goodness.
She did an awesome job. And the way she was able to do the different voices, and they actually sounded different, like different
and
voices.
The emotion she put in it.
Yes.
Oh, she had me teary-eyed. At one, I wrote the book, and at one of the scenes, just her narration caught me off guard, and I was like,
she did an excellent job. I agree. And before I let you go, I wanted to ask you one question that I usually ask before we sign off. What keeps you motivated in writing and in life?
What keeps me motivated in life is, the fact that I know God has something for me. And so, I wake up every day just expecting it. And so I say, okay, Lord, is it coming today? And so I'm like, I don't know what blessing is getting ready to come. And I'm talking about, my blessings in life, but also my blessings in my career, my writing career. And so I wake up expecting them. And so I'm like, okay, something good is getting ready to happen. I think my job, the only thing I can control in my writing career is writing the book. And then also, I think it's also my job to get out there and tell people about the book. I can't just write a book and never mention it. I have to get out there, tell people. And, I try to meet with as many people as possible. And then I say the rest is on my publisher, and it's on God, however he wants to bless me. And so, and those are also the reasons I keep writing, is because I'm now at the point in my career where I'm just looking for those next level blessings. And so I've never, before I came back to traditional publishing, and it was just a few years ago, because I had stepped away and I was just doing indie projects after my mom had passed, and I had to take care of my brother and things like that. But when I came back into traditional publishing, I asked myself, I was like, well, what do you want? And so I said, okay, I want awards. I want bestseller lists. And so I'm just waiting on them. I started receiving the awards. I have a few of them back there. And I had never, honestly, prayed about any of those type of things. I still want to. I love when I see reviews of my books and the reader mentions God. And so that still gets me. That's still one of my things that I want. I want people to see God in my writing. And so I had never wanted the other things, but I said, okay, well, this is the next level in my career. And so those are the things. So if anybody is saying, well, what can we pray for you for, Vanessa? I just gave you some things to pray for.
And that was one of the other questions I was going to ask you, is what do you want the reader to take away from the story?
Oh, this particular story, I want the reader to take away, as I said, it is to become better rather than bitter due to the circumstances life throws at us, because life can throw a whole lot at us, but it's our choice whether we're going to rise above it and still be the person that we know we are meant to be, or if we're going to become somebody totally different because we let bitterness set in. And so that's the thing that I hope that the reader gets when they're reading this story of these two friends and how they grew up and were torn apart, and then how they come back together in this book. That's my prayer, that's what they get. And so it's a simple lesson: become better rather than bitter.
Right. And I think you accomplished that just from me reading the book. And I know you have an event coming up. Can you tell people about that in case they're not familiar? Is it still time? You still have time to register?
I'm not sure if they still have time to register because I think Angela has already sent out the Zoom link to everyone. She may go back and check but we start in like 11 minutes. Okay. And so we're just doing because when I went out on tour, I was having fun with, my 80s thing. So we were throwing out bamboo earrings in the audience, things like that, doing that's so 80s. And so I was calling it my block party. And so we're just going to do a Zoom block party. Okay. And Angela is hosting it. She's taking care of most of it because I've been, trying to set up this tour for the next book. But yeah, so we're going to have fun in a little bit. And so the people who register for it, we're just going to go in and enjoy whoever shows up. And then I'm going to go rest.
And what about your retreat, CBLR? Is it still time to register for that?
Oh, is that what you meant? I'm sorry.
No, because I forgot about you. You do have one coming up too.
Yeah, a Christian Book Lovers Retreat is October the 26th through the 29th. And we have, there's no longer any room blocks at the hotel. That closed out on September the 26th. People, can register late, but then there's a late fee. And I'll tell you, we've already ordered everything that we need for the retreat. And so I normally say, just register next year. But hey, if you really want to come this year, go ahead. You can still register. And so, and it is at www.christianbookloversretreat.com.
All right, sounds good. I can't make it this year, but I plan on being there next year.
I'm telling you, we have a really good time. And so this year we're doing the 80s theme.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that's my fun for the light on Halsey Street.
Right.
So we're doing the 80s theme party this year. We always do like a theme party. We do craft parties. I like painting, jewelry making, journal making, or whatever, something that's hands-on for the women. And Mama Tony, you still coming, right?
Yeah, I'm still coming. coming. I got my room book. In fact, today I was trying to find an 80s outfit to order so I can get here before,
I know. I just got mine just showed up yesterday, and they sent it to the neighbors. Put it on the neighbor's porch. My husband had to walk down the street to find it for me.
Oh my goodness! I hate I'm going to miss.
Did you get it from Amazon?
I ordered it from Amazon.
Okay, that's why I've been looking. I said before I go to bed tonight, the first thing in the morning, I'm going to order one.
And it was very reasonably priced.
I've seen a couple, and they've been reasonably priced. I just haven't decided which one I want, but I'm gonna get my 80s. Yeah, but I'm coming. I will be there.
Oh, Vanessa, I hate I'm a missing. Jeez, that's my era. Oh well, but yeah, I plan on being there next year. So,
thank you so much. And so look out for us because at the beginning, when we close out, this is the lowest price that we offer for a CBLR. Is offered during pre-registration.
Okay.
So I try to tell people to look out for that right after the event closes out.
Okay, good to know. All right, well, I'm gonna let you go because I know you have to get to the next event for today. And I thank you for coming on. It was a great discussion. And I want to thank you, Mama Tony, for coming on and co-hosting.
No problem, anytime.
All right, and thank you everybody in the audience. And
thank you so much. I appreciate it, and thank you, everybody, for participating and asking questions or making comments. And I appreciate you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome, and I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.